Soon the house will be yours, and this is your last opportunity to speak up. We are talking about a very important piece of the real estate transaction, and that is the final walkthrough before closing. Hi, my name is Keith May with Keller Williams Realty in Central Oklahoma. I'm a 25-year realtor in the Edmond and Oklahoma City market. Now, the final walkthrough is for the buyer to ensure that the agreed upon repairs, again, the agreed upon repairs are completed, and to make sure there's no new issues since they last looked at the house or contracted on the house that have popped up, and that everything is the way it should be with a closing in a vacant house, clean, reasonably, and there's no trash or debris, and the sellers have removed all of their things. The buyer has a contractual right to do a walkthrough prior to closing per page 3.7e of the Oklahoma real estate contract. Depending on the amount of repairs that have been done, how big the house is, and if the seller has already moved their stuff when you're doing the walkthrough, hopefully, a walkthrough will take about 30 to 45 minutes as opposed to the home inspection, which you did weeks earlier, is closer to 2 to 3 hours. Again, this is not a discovery period, it is a verification period. A tip, if you're a buyer or a buyer's realtor, ask in advance to the seller or the seller's realtor for any invoices regarding the repairs that have been done, any receipts that'll make things a lot easier, more efficient, and easier to identify and confirm if they can see a receipt for the work, especially from a reputable company. Now, there are some things that an owner might be able to do himself, a family member, a friend, or a handyman. Owners have that right, just like the buyer has the right to confirm they were done prior to the closing. If you're a buyer or a buyer's realtor, bring your TRR, your checklist, bring your home inspection report, perhaps have the pictures pulled up to be able to confirm some things. And when you're going through the house, maybe look at the easy things to identify first that have been repaired. Get it in flow. If there's a bigger, more significant repair, perhaps turn it on if it's an appliance or a heat and air unit, and let it run while you're looking at the small things, then come back to that at the end to really isolate if things are all done. Now, a buyer can bring back their home inspector to look at the repairs that were made if they like. Now, this costs money, and home inspectors generally have to schedule out a little bit, so it can be tricky to sync that up time-wise. A buyer does have the right to do that. And again, if the house has a lot of repairs that are needed, you want to make sure to schedule it prior to closing, maybe even a couple, 2 or 3 days before closing. So if something is not right, something is not perfect, which oftentimes is the case, you have time to deal with it and notify the seller and work it out. And remember another thing, repairs are subjective. They just are. So there are different ways to repair things, and it gives you some time to consider that. The only scenario I would suggest to do a walkthrough prior to closing, just an hour or so before closing, is if there are no repairs and you're just simply making sure that the house didn't flood or all the stuff was moved out. Now, a good realtor can guide you through all this process as far as how much time before closing, how many days before closing is recommended to do the walkthrough, whether or not you need to bring your inspector back, etc. Now, if you're a buyer, when you do the walkthrough, you want to make sure that you've already made arrangements with the utility companies so they'll be on. You don't have a gap right after you close. If you're a seller, don't turn them off until closing has happened, because you don't want to have buyers doing a walkthrough in a dark house where they can't turn anything on. If it's the winter, obviously you want to have the heater on so it's nice and warm. If it's July or August and 105, have that AC running so a buyer is going to be comfortable, and again creates a positive and efficient experience which points towards a good closing. Another thing too, there's a landing page in this video in the description. You can contact me there if you'd like a list of the best neighborhoods in Edmond, Oklahoma City, or any suburb around the Oklahoma City metro. If there's any other tips you may have to ensure a successful and efficient walkthrough, comment on them below in this YouTube video. We'd love to hear from you. I also will attach another video on what it costs to sell a house if you're in the market to do that in Oklahoma City, the normal expenses. Love for you to consider registering, subscribing to my YouTube channel. I put out videos of value twice a month on this channel, or you can comment below. Plus, my direct number right here is 405-833-2626. My name is Keith May with Keller Williams Realty in Central Oklahoma.